Hello and welcome back to Ravenstorm Studios, and today I will be reading Feathers and Elsewhere University Tale, Part 4. Just before we jump into today's reading, a quick disclaimer: there will probably be mild to moderate coarse language, so if you are a young child, please check with a parent or guardian before watching this. Also, a quick note, if you have some work to do and you want to just listen to this in the background, that would also be very good because the visuals don't matter as much to the story. So, yeah, this would be great to listen to while just working or something. And without further ado, let's begin. Part 4. You spend 4 days in the library. Well, you spend 4 days worth of hours in the library, only 7 or so of which really pass. The books you sought were deep, deep in the library indeed. It's not Jenna who finds the treatise, though you think she might not have done it on purpose. She was trailing her hands along the spines of the books you'd all already looked at, and knocked the last one in a row off the table. She'd bent to retrieve it and found herself at eye level with the tome. It was a really good thing you're so deep. The squawk she'd let out would have been enough to have you evicted had a librarian heard it. As it is, it took not Jenna finding it and Cat Eyes to navigate the spell work keeping it on the shelf. You ended up having to pluck it out while 13 used a rolled-up magazine to beat back the grasping tendrils that kept reaching for it until not Jenna and Cat Eyes could find a different book of the same size to give to them. You were all quite glad to retreat to the library's cafe after that. The cafe is not quite in the library. It shares a roof, certainly, but it is completely walled off, and you must leave the library to enter it. You were only a little surprised to find the librarian's protection did not extend to the cafe. The cafe is sacred. Coffee and cream and other sweets, energy and nourishment. It is a meeting place, a place to rest, and the traditional realm of storytellers everywhere, and when it would take much more than what's going on now to violate the sanctity of the cafe. On this one thing, human and fae alike are in a singularly bloodthirsty agreement. The only other place on campus that is so incredibly off-limits to the vagaries of fate and the profanities of people and the fae alike is the bakery, for very similar reasons. No, really, one time a window in the bakery was broken by a foul ball. Baseball no longer exists within the bounds of Elsewhere U. You all order drinks, give the barista their payment, and try to not look too hard at their eyes or fingers. The coffee is delicious. You settle down at one of the tables in the back, out of range of the afternoon sun. Spread out a few books and notebooks to distract you from the thing you're actually here for. So, 13 starts. We have a book. Cat Eyes hums, but looks to you. Not Jenna is very especially not looking at you. You think she might not have been supposed to find that book, accident or not. The book is in the center of the table. It looks old. Old enough that you are quite sure that if you could convince one of the science majors to do some testing, they might tell you the book is bound in something awful, like human skin. You flip the cover open, and the first few blank pages, you leave it open at the first page that has writing on it, stare a moment, and lean back. The others lean in. What the fuck, Cat Eyes opines. 13 is confused, but, well, he falls closer to Jock than not. It's not Jenna that voices it. That's an author's note in modern APA format? You nod and point out the affiliation. Elsewhere University, Historical Studies Department. Breaking with format, there's no date anywhere to be found. On a hunch, you flip back a page. The page that was formerly blank now boasts the title of the book in looping, fanciful script that isn't actually English, but which you can all read nonetheless. a treatise on the unique traditions and superstitions of the populations of Elsewhere University, the Underhill, the Overhill, and those in between. Volume 9, on theft, and the difference therein, and the consequence for such crimes, by Robert Dove Sykes. You all take a moment to digest that. 13 speaks up. Robert Dove Sykes? Gee, what a name, geez. Geez, guys. Rob Dove Sykes. Oh my, you think. That is quite a name indeed. Quietly, Cat Eyes asks, think you lived very long after getting that published? I think he lived for a very, very long time, Not Jenna says, and there is nothing in her voice that speaks of happy endings. She doesn't look up from her coffee. Maybe, 13 starts, and then trails off. You quite agree. Well, you say, only ever so slightly louder than is perhaps necessary, gathering up proof. Hopefully dead by now, Robert's book, along with a few others you had out for camouflage into your book bag. That's enough studying for now. We need to go put out fresh milk. For the cat, remember? The sun, at least, is high in the sky, and the others quickly make noises of agreement and follow you out. You lead your group straight back to Dorm 5, leaving offerings on every park bench, beneath every oak tree you pass, throwing a handful of nuts to the crows, leaving creamers on the picnic table no one ever sits at as you go. When you get there, you lock the doors and the windows and salt the sills some more to establish your thresholds, and light candles even though it's still plenty light out. Dinner that night is ramen, with wontons from the freezer and soy sauce for dipping, because even not Jenna seems to want a little more salt in her blood after eating that. When you sleep all curled up together. When you all wake, you all stay in your pile of blankets and page through the book together, passing it back and forth when the script becomes too much for your human eyes. It doesn't really tell you much more than you already knew. The rules are the rules, and they really haven't changed much at all. Still, it is nice to have a written copy of an account of the chemistry major's revolt. It is less bloody than you had believed. The price was paid in other ways. The other ways you read about hold. Promise is not the wrong word. And yet, the four of you spend all day like that, passing out mugs of tea to soothe throats and spirits. As the day winds down, as the sun sinks closer to the horizon, you pass out mugs of spirits instead of tea. Cat Eyes calls a toast, grim-voiced. To the history majors, she says, and you all raise your mugs to clink against hers. You drink your drinks, re-pour, drink again. When you are comfortably floating, fuzzy, you stir. Tell the others, I think I have a plan. Not Jenna's eyes catch on the way you're fiddling with your crow pearls. She doesn't say anything, but she looks sad. The next morning, when the sun is in the sky anyway, next implies the passage of Tuesday. It's still Tuesday. You and Not Jenna set out early in the morning, with empty bags and backpacks. When you get back, it's nearing on 10. You're both out of breath and grass-stained, and your bags are full to bursting. Cat Eyes and 13 cook breakfast, and then help you and Not Jenna sort throw the food you brought back. You all repack it into a bag, fold a blanket, find an umbrella. You lead the others to the South Quad, where you first started reading and singing to the crows. Set up your picnic, and wait. None of you eat. It doesn't take long for someone to approach. You've laid out quite the spread, after all. The thing that approaches first is pretending to be Professor Grant from the art department. You think Professor Grant must have an arrangement for how frequently she's taken and returned. Hello, Professor, you say, because while this isn't Professor Grant, it does try its best to teach. Quite a spread you've got, it says, its it eyes the smoked meats you have with hunger. You don't bat an eye when its eyes turn into gaping maws in between blinks. 13 shudders beside you, and Cat Eyes quietly removes her glasses. I try, you demur. It swallows, salivating. Surely, it says, you'd invite a professor to feast with you. Alas, this picnic is not for me. I find myself requiring an audience. You smile, apologetic. Professor Grant's replacement sighs, mournful, and wanders away. Several others approach you, and you replay the scene each time. 13 has become bored of being bored. Not Jenna has wandered off and returned 3 times already. Cat Eyes just broke out a portable charger for her phone. You're beginning to wish you had remembered to bring sunblock when someone walks up, flops down on a spare corner of the blanket, insouciant, and pops a grape into their mouth. So, girl who sings to crows, it says, I hear you and yours are the ones who wanted an audience. You don't even get up, just fold yourself low over your crossed legs until your forehead is bare inches from the ground. You are glad of the yoga class you took for the improved flexibility. Still low, you murmur a question. I am unsure as to how I should address you. Magnanimous, it tells you, I am called the Crow Prince. On the blanket behind you, Cat Eyes inhales sharply. You sit up and, yes, hair like the sound of feathers, empty eyes, nails dark and a touch too long. You rather thought so. 13, who between bouts of boredom has been making good use of Google, breathes, royalty? To a very still Not Jenna. The Crow Prince laughs. Not in the way you mean, morsel. I am no great name of the Seelie nor unseelie court, and may no such great name ever darken our fair doorstep here at Elsewhere, he crows, and Not Jenna mutters a fervent, Hear, hear. He quirks an eyebrow at you meaningfully, nodding to Not Jenna, and you pour him a red solo cup full of orange juice. Hear, hear indeed, he says, and raises the cup and takes a draught. No, I am of the autumn court, and long may we reign here at Elsewhere. Not of the winter or summer court, you wonder. But oh, of course, Elsewhere turns on the passing of semesters, not seasons. This is probably one of the only places autumn and spring courts aren't subordinate to their more well-known counterparts. Though it is good for you that you have come to me now. If it were fall, I would not have time for you. He pops a cube of cheese in his mouth, then spears a bit of salami on his talon and bites into that as well. Then he really looks at this rest of your spread. Where did you get all of this? He asks, and you smile. You and Not Jenna really outdid yourselves this morning. It's Tuesday, you tell him, and he smiles back. This is the most dangerous thing you've ever spoken to. After that, he just wants to eat for a while, and you let him. We'll talk when he wants to. And the longer it takes, the less worried you are that 13 is going to say something stupid and offensive. He'll get bored of being terrified soon enough, and therefore less likely to blurt out something without thinking about what he's saying first. He makes idle conversation as the 5 of you lounge on the grass. What is small talk to one such as him is nonsense to you. He speaks of stardust harvests and celestial poachers, and music made to taste like strawberries, and you all answer as best you can. The Crow Prince is gracious company. He invites you all to eat with him, and you do. You make sure to nudge all the best bits towards him before you help yourself, though, and you can tell by his easy smile and the warmth of the pearls around your wrist he appreciates it. Something in you preens at his attention. It's the same part of you that delights at the glint of sunlight and the feathers in your hair, at the way the other involved students look at your pearls, at the way people know who you are. It's the same thing that sat up and crowed when 13 called you the Crow Girl. The Crow Prince has claim on you, and for more reasons than what hang around your wrist. You make deals yourself now. Most people at Elsewhere do. A coffee for help studying, conversation for company, iron jewelry for sea salt. But sometimes you think you can feel the worth of a thing. It scares you most days. Some days, though, it doesn't. You are fey-touched, you know. You are more fey-touched each day you spend here. You don't really mind anymore. That right there is the more frightening prospect by far. Almost all the food is gone, and the Crow Prince lays flat on his back, legs crossed so an ankle bulbs mid-air, one taloned hand twirling lazily in the air as he speaks. The light from the sun has gone amber, and it twists though you are starting to relax. Even let your guard down. This too pretty thing is of the gentry, of the court even, but he is more crow than not. With crows, it is intention, not technicalities, that matter most. You are starting to believe that this thing will not hurt you. You are wrong, you know this. You know, and yet... When he is done, he rolls onto his feet, and you hear the rustle of wings as he moves. He folds himself, looming over you, so he can catch your jaw with his talons to make you look up and up and up and up into those empty, empty eyes. The Dove Book will not help you, he says, and you're confused. The Dove Book? Before you realize he means the book by Robert Dove Sight. Fear replaces confusion. What need has the Crow Prince for circumspection? It was an interesting read, you offer feebly. He snorts, and the humanity of it makes your skin crawl. This will be more so, he says, and he is gone, wind tearing at your hair and clothes, knocking over cups and stealing napkins. The Crow Prince is gone, and in his place is a book, over an illustration of a laughing crow. So you want to go Underhill, is written in starlight on the cover. And that is the end of part 4. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. Bye!